Hi again, this is Art Francis, your board chair. We thought it would be fun tonight to introduce you to our 3 honorees by taking you on a tour of Boulder. Let's get on the road. Let's start by taking a look at some historical sites here in Boulder. Over on my left side is the Boulder Depot. It was built in 1890. However, it's no match to the Flatirons in front of us here, which started being formed actually 300 million years ago. Lots of history in this area. You know who we should talk to is, let's go see John Taylor, who's the president and CEO of the Boulder Chamber of Commerce. He's really good at Boulder's history. Let's go there next. This is where John works. Okay, I get it. Okay, I'm gonna walk in here. You know, the interesting thing about the Chamber of Commerce is that the other organizations under its banner are the Boulder Economic Council and then the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So really looking forward to chatting with him. John? John, are you in there? Where is John? He's gonna meet me here. Oh, I know, he's at the Distinguished Citizens Award dinner tonight. Maybe I can catch him there. John!
Hey, Art!
John, I knew you would be here, man.
Good to see you, my friend.
Absolutely, and stuff. I knew you were. Why aren't you at your office? We were gonna meet there.
I have the Distinguished Citizens Award tonight.
I even wore my shameless fundraising tie just for you tonight.
You know, that's a great reminder for us that this is a wonderful event to contribute to the Scouts. So that's going to be a theme for tonight. So have a seat, please, Art.
Thank you.
And get ready for some fun.
Thanks
to
for
honor some
helping us out,
distinguished
man.
guests. Pleasure to be here. And welcome all of you to the 39th Annual Distinguished Citizens Award of dinner on behalf of the Longs Peak chapter of the Boy Scouts of America. We're so glad to have you here because we're going to be honoring some distinguished citizens, David and Dee Height of McGuckins fame. We're going to get to recognize a distinguished Eagle Scout, Andy Tomuziak, and as well, we're going to recognize a distinguished military veteran, Lloyd Thrall, who is an Army Ranger, jumping out of planes, airborne Ranger, jumping out of planes, all sorts of things. So I'm John Taylor, I'm president and CEO of the Boulder Chamber. And tonight we are going to recognize these distinguished guests, but as well, we're going to raise some funds to support our scouting in America, in our community, to make sure we build on the legacy of leadership development skills that the Longs Peak chapter of the Boy Scouts of America does so well. So I'm going to thank all of you who've already contributed to this great cause, you at home and you here in the audience with us here tonight. But we're also going to give you that opportunity, just like Art's tie suggested, this is about funding and supporting our Boy Scouting. But before we get the event started, I want to welcome up to the podium here our distinguished Eagle Scout, Andy Tomuziak from Troop 77, who's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Scout Oath and Law. So come on up, Andy.
Thank you very much. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Scout Oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Scout Law. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Thank you. Just an example of just how distinguished Andy is.
I had to follow along with the Scout code and law just to make sure I understood it. So way to go, Andy. So I just want to welcome all of you who are here enjoying a wonderful dinner here at one of my favorite restaurants, Pasta J's, that contributes so well to scouting in our community, but also you at home who hopefully are enjoying your meal as well. And I want to also recognize the sponsors who make an event like this happen, and also through their generous contributions are supporting scouting in our community. So please check out the screen and recognize these are people who are great philanthropists in our community. We also want to stand with them too, because they are great partners with scouting. So thank you to our sponsors. So just a little bit about scouting. We are standing right here in the Wapiti district of the Longs Peak Council of the Boy Scouts of America, which serves Boulder, Louisville, Lafayette, Nederland, Erie, Superior, and part of Broomfield. That is a significantly wide district. And they do that, and through that, that area, they have over 1,600 scouts participating in their programs. Now, what are those youth doing in our community? They've contributed over 16,000 hours of community service contributed through great leadership like Andy, one of our Eagle Scouts. And to give a sense, yes, that's worthy of applause. So thank you, Sarah. So also just to give a sense of just how amazing our Wapiti chapter is, we have 80 Eagle Scouts. That's fascinating when you consider that only, or I think less than 4% of scouts actually achieve Eagle Scout status. So a fascinating accomplishment for our Wapiti chapter, speaking to the quality of the leadership development skills here in our community. So I will say that for me, I'm always excited about the development of scouts and what has evolved over time to now serve not just Boy Scouts, but boys and girls, having the opportunity to participate and get and benefit from the #1 leadership development program for youth in our community. And so it's now serves the entire family, the Boy Scouts, the scouting community, and all of those great resources. And what makes it happen? Well, first of all, obviously your contributions support the great work of scouting, but it's also in our community alone, 700 adults are standing with our youth to make sure that those activities are enriching and to make sure that they get the programs and development skills. And that's all handled very efficiently by one amazing executive, James Williamson, who you'll get a chance to meet later in the program. And so now it's again my honor to bring up and recognize our distinguished scout from Eagle Scout from Troop 77, Andy Tomuziak.
At Boulder High, and for the last 4 years it's been the home of the recipient and our honoree tonight of the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award.
Hey Andy, are you going to miss this place?
Hi, my name is Andy Tomuziak. I joined scouting about 6 years ago and I earned my Eagle in May of 2019. I joined in the first year of Webelos, which is in the last couple years of Cub Scouting. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know anybody who's a part of scouting, but it's become a major part of my life ever since, and I'm very thankful to what scouting has provided for me. I graduated from Boulder High School in May of this year, and I'm planning to attend the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. to study international affairs with a focus on conflict resolution. To attend college, I received the Daniels Fund Scholarship, and I also received the
Presidential Academic Award at George Washington. I think some of the skills that the scouting taught me, like discipline and initiative and concern for the collective good, really pushed me in a direction that was more centered around people. Scouting taught me some of the key personal management skills that allowed me to get there. For a couple years at school, I'd been involved with this club called the Rotary Interact Service Club, which aims to connect high schoolers with meaningful service opportunities. As a result, I've worked with a place called the Family Learning Center, which seeks to provide after-school programs for underprivileged children. Every year they try to have a Christmas toy drive. That year the drive wasn't being held. I decided to set up different collection centers, and I chose a couple different companies, and they agreed to let me set up little Christmas trees with different paper ornaments with a child's name and their gift wish on them. And for several weeks I ran the drive, and people would pick a snowflake off the tree and go and purchase that gift and return it under the tree. And eventually, after the drive was over, I went out with a group of scouts and collected all the gifts, and the children received the gifts on Christmas. I remember what an important time the holidays were for me as a child, and so I really wanted to help give back and provide them some of that same experience. So to provide this happiness for some of the children that I've worked with previously was really meaningful to me. One of my favorite scout events has always been the Klondike Skills Competition, in which troops from all over the state of Colorado, and I think beyond, build sleds and have to orienteer between different stations at which they show their proficiency in first aid, cooking, fire starting, team building. It's always a really challenging event because it's in the dead of winter. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 feet of snow on the ground, and it's a long day. For me, it's always been the greatest team building challenge of any of the scout events that we do. And in fact, when I was senior patrol leader on one Klondike, we had a scout who became hypothermic on the trip. And that was a really difficult challenge as a leader, because I realized that leadership is more than just giving orders. It's about making sure that people in the group feel comfortable. And it was a real opportunity for me to build my leadership. One of the most meaningful lessons I've learned from scouting is that service can extend beyond the typical definition of volunteering or working on projects. Service can really be how you treat people, in empathy and bringing people closer together and having respect for the values of others. Scouting has taught me how to live a life of service through both definitions, direct action and character. Integrity is one of the most complex and challenging virtues that scouting teaches young people to pursue, and yet it's one of the most commonly called upon in life. One phrase from the script at our Court of Honor advancement ceremonies always sticks with me particularly. You will face ethical and moral challenges in your life where there's nobody to police you and nobody to guide you. You will win without praise and lose without blame. Life seems to throw situations at you where the options are not just as simple as clear right and wrong. And scouting provided me the environment and guidance in which I could really think about what integrity means to me and how to live it to the best of my ability, even in those complex situations. Scouting also showed me the nuance of leadership, sometimes in a very vivid manner. A team of people who are only willing to function as the chief executive is just as impossible and frustrating to work with as a team with no leader at all. By holding different positions of responsibility and seeing the range of skills that scouts had, I learned that management is just one part of a range of roles that are necessary for a team to thrive. And then I learned that one can have the aptitude to succeed in all 3 of those roles as a leader, expert, and adapter, and that knowing when to embrace each of those roles is just as important as knowing how to lead in the first place. Going into scouting, I never could have predicted the extent to which scouting would mature my attitude, allow me to grow my skills, build a community. It's prompted self-reflection for me and shaped my very identity. I've heard the phrase many times, but I think only now can I really understand it. To be an Eagle Scout is for life.
Leadership, integrity, integrity and responsibility, values we can all live by. And so just so impressed that you're ingrained through scouting in you, Andy, and how I've already seen that you exhibit that. I'd ask if Mark, if you wouldn't mind, Mark Tomnusiak, the father of Andy, if you just come up, just somebody, you obviously just have to have great pride in the son that you've helped develop, and obviously through scouting. So just congratulate you both. So I will say this, that it's always my honor to meet and greet and celebrate the scouts who get this Distinguished Eagle Scout Award. And myself, I always learn from your qualities and skills, and it's something that all of us would look up to. So I congratulate you as the 2020 Distinguished Eagle Scout on behalf of the Longs Peak Council of the Boy Scouts of America. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Mark.
I want to express my deep gratitude to some of those whose guidance and impact was invaluable for me during my time in Troop 77. Firstly, to Mr. Terry Olson and Mr. Chris Love, who provided their constant mentorship, sage advice, and kind support in scouting and beyond. To Mr. Paul Arnold, my Eagle Project advisor, whose almost 5 decades of service and dedication to advising generations of scouts is a defining part of our troop. To Mr. Paul Stuber, who took the time to work through what must have felt to him like hundreds of merit badges with me. To Dr. Carl Brown, my Hornaday Award advisor, whose amazing expertise in forestry and experience in scouting made my project an even more rewarding and meaningful learning opportunity than I could have imagined. To my parents, whose patience and enthusiasm for me allowed me to give my all to scouting. Unfortunately, I don't have time to thank every person who's made an impact on me. And in the wonderful community that is Troop 77, that would have to be quite a long list. The journey to Eagle is in no way one that can be walked alone. So I'm incredibly thankful to have had such a wide and exceptional network of support. I'm very grateful to have had the chance to learn and grow in this environment. I'm deeply humbled to receive this honor, and I strive to live up to this distinction every day. Thank you very much.
So just like Art had his fancy tie, I got a little ornament to suggest what you can do to help support scouting and to recognize the great work that develops young youth leaders like Andy. So we know, as we said, that some of you have already contributed at home, and we recognize and thank you for that. But we wanted to give all of you who are watching tonight and those of you in the room here today the chance to contribute to scouting in our community. And so we will see up on the screen very shortly a range of contribution levels at which you can give. And we're going to be asking you to support between 1 and 10 or maybe 1,000 scouts. It's totally up to you. But the opportunity is there tonight to make a contribution again to scouting and leadership development for our youth. So we're going to make it easy in a technology virtual way to do your giving. It's going to take a little technology. So all of you have a reaction button on your Zoom screen. Took me a while to discover that. It's down in your lower right section. And there's a thumbs up there. That's right. Looks like that. So I'm going to ask you all to please go to that reaction button. And just to test things out, we're going to ask you to push that button. And I want to see, this is not a contribution at this moment, but I'm going to ask James to have everybody tell me when everybody lights up their thumbs up. So just to practice, make sure you got it. Everybody hit that like button, hit that thumbs up. Let's light up that screen. How's it looking out there? All right, well, we're going to continue with the programming, but we're going to probably come back at the end with an opportunity for you to contribute. And just because this bling takes away from some of the important matters, we'll take it away.
And we're coming up right now to NCAR, which stands for the National Center for Atmospheric Research. sits on 565 just gorgeous acres. I mean, take a look at this out here. This is really neat. And it is the premier location for atmospheric research in the United States. And in fact, it was chosen as one of the locations for the movie Sleeper. Now, one person who is not a sleeper is Brex Laceby, who is a Purple Heart recipient from his time in Afghanistan, and he's going to be introducing our distinguished military veteran tonight.
I'm honored to announce that the recipient for Boulder's Distinguished Veteran goes to our very own Lloyd Thrall. Lloyd is the antithesis, the epitome of service, a veteran of the United States Army from the Ranger Regiment, an instructor here at the University of Colorado Boulder, and someone that is truly compassionate about serving his community and giving back to others.
My mother and father raised me with a sense of service and purpose. The military was a natural place for that to be expressed as I became a man. I enlisted in the United States Army on Walnut Street after graduating from Fairview High School here in Boulder. 3 days after I graduated at Fairview, I was at Fort Benning with a shaved head, ready to join. I've served in different capacities in my life. I served the 1st Ranger Battalion in Army Special Operations Command in uniform. After that, came here to CU Boulder, got my degree. I served in the intelligence community after that, including time in Iraq. After that, I was at the RAND Corporation. I've served in that capacity in research, and then I was a senior appointee in the Obama administration, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Force Readiness, which is a position where we look at the historically difficult question of American readiness for combat. We're typically not ready when war comes. And my job in that capacity, testifying to Congress, reporting to the Secretary, was to try to understand why and address those pathologies in peacetime. I've gone on to be an academic here at the University of Colorado, returning to my alma mater, which is a very happy undertaking for me, where I continue to teach on foreign policy and national security matters. This morning in reading the Scout Oath, I was amazed to find that some of the Ranger Creed is actually taken verbatim from the Scout Oath in terms of living a life that is mentally alert, physically strong, and morally straight. Those are words dear to me as a veteran of the Ranger Regiment, and I have the Ranger Creed on my wall where it's always been since I was in the regiment. Scouts have been a part of the fabric of American society for over a century now, and we're lucky for that. We live in changing times, and much has changed, but there are reasons why organizations like the Scouts endure and stay evergreen. I would say 2 stand out. One is the sense of service, and the other is the sense of self-reliance. And in my own thinking at least, both are in great need in modern times. In the notion of service, I think our faith traditions do a good job, and that meaning in human life comes from meaning in relation to others. Certainly service is a calling that has not faded in modern times. And in self-reliance, there's a need for the kind of strength of character, physical strength, emotional strength, that scouting and the scouting experiences bring to American youths. I've seen that as a college professor. I've had 11 Eagle Scouts in my classes. I've seen that in the American military, in the special operations community where I served alongside Scouts, and I've seen that in higher levels of American government and civil society as well. So a sense of service, a sense of purpose and meaning, and that life is going to test you. You're not going to walk through life in such a way where you're not sorely tested. Life is going to test you hard. Preparing for that in the formative years of youth, and in terms of having an ethical foundation, that when times are difficult, you don't bend on ethical and moral points. I've seen that in the military. I've seen the strength of that. I've seen the strength of character that other people are drawn to when people can exemplify it. Scouting gives you a base for a successful life, professionally, as a leader, and candidly as a father and as a husband as well. We live in changing times. We live in a time when many traditional things are doubted. I don't think that throws into doubt the meaning of scouting. I think that highlights the meaning of scouting. In terms of, in this modern time, do we disagree that a life that is morally straight, mentally active, and physically healthy is the wrong foundation for our youth? I think, despite having a legitimate American disagreement about many things, I imagine we can all fairly well agree on that.
I can say I've had the opportunity to get to know over quite some time here, and then also just even chatting tonight, and just continue to be impressed by this individual and humbled by his commitment to service and sacrifice on behalf of our country. So it is a great pleasure for me to invite up to the stage Lloyd Thrall. Thank you. So on behalf of the Longs Peak chapter of the Boy Scouts, it's my pleasure and honor to present to you the 2020 Distinguished Military Veteran Service Award. Congratulations and thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much for your service. And now we have the pleasure. I know you said a few words. You're very humble. You said thank you. But I heard you have an acceptance speech, and so we're going to get to see that now. So thank you, Lloyd. Yep, pleasure.
So I'm sincerely honored and humbled to even be considered, let alone accept. And I don't say that lightly. I'm aware of the people before me who have won this award, people like John Toth, who, I mean sincerely, their service is more than my own. So to be considered in the same breath with them is an honor to me. I'm here and I'm proud to accept because at root I believe in the mission and I believe in what the Boy Scouts are doing. There is an ethos of service that runs through the last century of Boy Scout service. It informs and it strengthens American society in many ways. And so to be a small part of that, to help encourage that, to help sustain that, is something that I'm grateful to be recognized for. Thank you.
By the way, have you ever seen the Morgan Mindy House? You know, it became real popular in 1978, mostly because of the late, great Robin Williams, who starred in it. And it's been a tremendous local attraction for local residents and visitors alike. And here it is on my side. It's a great old Victorian and just a great landmark for us here in Boulder. You know, another popular location here in Boulder is the McGuckin's hardware store. Why don't we go there? Here we are at McGuckin's Hardware. You know, McGuckin's opened in 1955, and I came here as a freshman in college, actually in 1972. You know, it was opened up by Bill McGuckin himself, and then David Height joined him shortly thereafter. Spent all of that time supporting a store that has now grown to 60,000 square feet and has over 200,000 individual items.
Bill McGuckin, my grandfather, was a pharmacist in Fort Lupton, Colorado, and they had a fire in the store. And he'd always wanted to open a fishing shop somewhere. And in '55, he came to Boulder and opened a sporting goods store, but it was also hardware. And my dad, his son-in-law, said to him, well, maybe you should stock something that'll keep you year-round, not just fly fishing equipment. He started with plumbing, hardware, little housewares, not much, but a nice fishing department. My dad, as a parent, was really great. We lived on a mountaintop. We lived above Boulder, 5 miles out of town. And we would call him and say, can you bring a bag of nails home and a hammer? And he would say, you have a hammer. And we'd say, no, we don't have a hammer. Bring a hammer home. He owned a hardware store. Bring us a hammer. He'd say, well, you guys left it out in the toolie patch. That was the name for where all the hammers disappeared to. We accused him of taking it back to work and selling it. So Mom and Dad both, she supported at home his passion for building a business. I asked him in high school how much he made, and it was ridiculously low. He was fueling a company that the money went into the company. It didn't go home. He drove old cars. He's a humble, just a easygoing guy. He learned life lessons at an early age. Then when he passed them to us, it was a lot of wisdom. So he passes great things to us, yeah. So what gets me up in the morning, it's like the first thing coming into work is, who am I gonna help today? And really, we've made so many friends in the community by helping them out with some problem that they've got. And once you get that level of, oh, they can trust you, you trust them, and then you become friends, and you find out about their families. It's really great. It really is. It builds a community that I say it's a wonderful life. Yeah. The Green Vest got started many years ago, probably in the late 70s, and it was to identify people that worked here, because it was so funny how many times someone in the store would be approached and say, "Do you work here?" And they didn't work here, but they looked like they worked here. And so to identify us, what the green symbolizes, which is really great, is a lot of times when you're helping people, I always say it's a great town for recycling, for redoing. So if you're fixing something up, you don't have to go buy a new one. That's the green part of McGuckin, and it's to help people solve problems. We've got 200 employees, and the vests get looking pretty ratty after a while, so we have to redo them about every 2-3 years. One of the badges on them that's really great is when it does say manager, or they've moved up in the organization. Like I say, they get that trust with the community. They become part of the store. It's also partly their store. So when they're helping someone, they take ownership. And so that's how you move up in the store, just by taking ownership. The McGuckin's traveling pin. So we've always had a pin that has our logo on it. People around the world, a friend of mine was in Germany with his brother, and he was looking for parts for an automobile. And this is 20 years ago. They were driving down an Autobahn, and they pulled into a place to find parts for this car. And they went in, and his brother speaks fluent German. My friend doesn't. The guy on the counter starts talking to him, and his brother says, "I need this part." Guy on the counter, "Yeah." And he pulls out a McGuckin hardware pin to write the order up with. And my friend Matt says, "I'm from that town. That's my town." And the German breaks into English. He goes, "I'm going there someday. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna get there someday to that town." So that's one of them. The other one was the other pin story that's really great is two gentlemen were hiking in Nepal. They were going from Pakistan into Nepal. They were on a foot trail, and where they came to the border crossing, it was just a guy in a little house, and you had to sign in. And the one guy looks at the other one guy and says, "Do you have a pen?" And he goes, "No." And the other guy packing says, "Do you have a pen?" "No, I don't have a pen." The border guard pulls out a McGuckin hardware pin and says, "Don't take it, it's my only one." And they're like, "That's where we're from." So it creates community, which is great. We're going through a tough time right now with the COVID and just staying open. And my dad, he is at home, and he wishes everyone well, and he's so thankful for the crew that stayed in here for COVID. And so it's been a trying time, and right now it's trying times trying to get merchandise from our vendors. They've run into hard times as well, where it's just the pressure on, there's a lot of demand. I think with the stay at home, everybody wanted to fix their house up. So there's a lot of demand. And Dave's hope for the future is that there are opportunities in America for small businesses to really thrive and survive. With the onslaught of large companies coming in and taking market share, he wishes that small town America would thrive. It really is a great life. It's a good lifestyle. He's grown a family, and he's got grandkids, and now he's got great grandkids, and he's seen a lot of history. If you were born in 1929, think about that, where Ford made a car that hardly got across the town, let alone to bring it to modern times. He just is amazed at the changes and trying to embrace the change. Yeah, it's a good one. Dad, at Christmas time, we stand in the store and we look down the aisles, and how thankful are we? You see droves of people in here. It's awe-inspiring because we look at it as a gathering. People come home from being far away, and they've been, they grew up here in Boulder. They go on, they live in, and you talk to them, they say, "I'm from New York City and I'm back for Christmas and I just had to come to the favorite place." So we're humble about that. It's really, it's hard to put into words how you actually feel, but it's really great that people have such a history with us. And my parents always say, they said it yesterday, that it's really great. The customers have really been, who have supported us all these years, have helped us when we change something, when I move something around or I change something, and I get a lot of grief for it. Not from the employees usually, mostly from the customers. It's like, don't change anything, don't leave it the way it is. So my dad and mom's, it's really an odyssey of where they went, how they got to here. It's not over yet. You know, there's still years to come. There's still family here. And I think that's their wish, is that it just continues on. And I'm third generation. I think my son's in here working as well, Jason. He's fourth generation. And I think it could be his daughter, you know, or son that maybe fifth generation. We don't know. So it's that sixth generation, seventh. We'd like to see it go on. My dad's wish for everyone, whenever he was approached by someone saying, hey, why don't you make this nationwide and open 50 stores? He said, no, why don't you just give 50 families an opportunity to have a great life in their town?
When I think about distinguished, I think about business leaders in our community who not only have achieved business success, but have left a legacy that supports a family, but even more important, created a beloved community institution. That is what David and Dee Height have done with McGuckin Hardware. But again, another element of this is their partnership. Their work together has helped build this institution with the values that identify and are related to the values of this community. And so together, I'm honored on behalf of the Longs Peak chapter of the Boy Scouts to recognize Dave and Dee Height as the 2020 Distinguished Citizens of the Year. Now, unfortunately, they couldn't be here with us tonight. As Barry said, COVID has been a challenge for both of them, Dave and Dee Height. But my understanding is that they're probably stacking the aisles in McGuckin right at this moment. They are so committed to their business. But I understand also that we have a few words of acceptance from them. So take it away.
I'd really like to thank the Longs Peak Council of the Boy Scouts of America for honoring my parents. They are so thankful and they are so humble that something like this would come their way. They are homestaying and enjoying life at home, but thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Congratulations. Okay, so we've had some great individuals, some outstanding, distinguished individuals to recognize. Our distinguished Eagle Scout, Andy Tomuziak. We had our distinguished military veteran, Lloyd Thrall, and our distinguished citizens, Dave and Dee Height. It has been a magnificent night. But even more important, we've had the opportunity to contribute to scouting in our community. And so with that, I wanted to invite my colleague and partner in crime, Art Rancis, up to the stage and see if I can one-up him with my bling and his tie. But first of all, I want to do something. I want to thank this individual for making it through what has been a very challenging year to chair the Distinguished Citizens Awards annual dinner, and did an amazing job, as well as applied his unique humor to making this an enjoyable evening for everybody. But in order to make this thing a success, we want to make sure that everybody's considering how they can contribute to the Boy Scouts. And so a couple of things. First of all, just remember, all of your contributions to the Boy Scouts are tax deductible. Is that right, Art?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And then second, there's time to contribute. And this time we're going to ask you to text to this secret password number 41444. That's 41444. Did I get that right, Art? Okay. So you have an opportunity to continue contributing to the Boy Scouts. Make sure to do that. And with that, it's my pleasure to say and bid all of you a pleasant evening. And I don't know, Art, do you have any last words to offer?
I do, John. And it's been my pleasure to share this evening with you. Thank you. And, whether or not you have a son at home of scouting age or a daughter at home of scouting age, what we all do share is that in our community, we need strong leaders, and they need training and instruction on how to do that. The scouting organization has that kind of training and applies it to the most formidable years, those teenage and young adult years. So please join with us, and let's continue to support our local chapters and organizations in scouting. Thank you very much for tonight, and good night.
Wait.
John?
Oh, well.
No, we're
air
supposed to be
hug.
virtual.
Oh, my gosh.
All right.
Oh, my God, it's Jay.
All right.
Oh, my God, I'm so...
So we're making another announcement tonight. Everybody that had bought food through our virtual purchasing and stuff like that,
sure.
all on the house.
Oh, my God, Jay,
All
you're
right.
amazing.
So what we want you to do is we want you to contribute to the Boy Scouts and to this thing tonight. Instead of purchasing the food and stuff like that, it's all in the house. But everybody that virtually purchased food and had it delivered to them and stuff like that, all the donation goes to the Boy Scouts of America. So this is done.
Is that nice?
All right. All right. So let's make that here. And I want to say thanks to John Taylor and to Art Rancis for doing a great job tonight.
Oh,
you guys
thank
are
you.
awesome.
Pleasure,
you guys
Jay.
are awesome. But I just want to make sure all that. So whatever purchased and all that stuff goes directly to the Boy Scouts, and add a little bit more to it. All right,
Add it up. Double up that.
Double up that, guys. Thank you very
tip
much.
to support
You
Jay.
guys did a great job tonight. You guys did a great job. Thank you very much.
Jay Lowski, amazing contributor in our community. Okay, before we close out, text to 41444. Jay, Pasta Jay, set the tone. We can all contribute to making scouting happen in our community. Thank you all for being with us this night, and we'll see you next year at the annual Distinguished Citizens Award dinner. Thank you.